Surah Yusuf consists of 111 verses, including the Makkiyah surahs, because it was revealed in Mecca before the Hijrah. This chapter is called Surah Yusuf, because the emphasis of its content is on the history of the Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him. This history is one of the supernatural stories that was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as a miracle for him. While before this letter was revealed, he did not know about it. According to the history of al-Baihaqi in the book Ad Dalail, a group of Jews converted to Islam after they heard the story of Yusuf, peace be upon him, because it was in accordance with the stories they knew. From Yusuf's story, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, learned many lessons and was a comfort to him in carrying out his duties. The main contents of Surah Yusuf. The best story of the Prophet Yusuf. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 1-3, Allah explains that the Quran is clear verses of the book revealed in Arabic for understanding. The Prophet Muhammad was given the best story through the revelation of the Quran, which he previously did not know. This shows the importance of the Quran as a guide and knowledge given to mankind. Prophet Yusuf's dream. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 4-6, Yusuf told his father Yaqub about his dream about 11 stars, the sun and the moon prostrating itself to him. His father warned Yusuf not to tell his dream to his brothers because they would deceive him, considering that Satan is a clear enemy to humans. Allah chose Yusuf as a prophet, taught him some of the interpretations of dreams, and completed his blessings to the family of Jacob, as he had done to Ibrahim and Isaac before. This shows the wisdom and knowledge of Allah. The attitude of the Prophet Yusuf's brothers towards him. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 7-10, in the story of Yusuf and his brothers, there are signs of God's power for the questioners. When Yusuf's brothers felt that Yusuf and his siblings were more loved by their father, they planned to kill or banish Yusuf so that their father's attention would be focused on them. However, one of them suggested that Yusuf was not killed, but put into a well to be taken by travelers. This describes the conflict between Yusuf's brothers and the evil plan they devised. The persuasion of Yusuf's brothers to his father. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 11-14. Yusuf's brothers asked their father Yaqub to trust them on Yusuf and let Yusuf go with them the next morning to have fun. Although they assured him that they would look after him, Jacob felt sad and worried that the wolf would eat Yusuf if they were careless. Yusuf's brothers asserted that if the wolf ate Yusuf, even though they were a strong group, they would lose. The event of Prophet Yusuf being thrown into the well. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 15-18. Yusuf's brothers took Yusuf to the bottom of the well according to their agreement, without realizing that Yusuf would tell them about their actions. Then they returned to their father in the evening weeping, telling him that the wolf had eaten Joseph. They showed him his clothes stained with fake blood as proof. Jacob realized their trickery, but he chose to be patient, and only Allah he hoped for help for what his brothers told him. The incident of the Prophet Yusuf being found by the caravan who sold him at a cheap price. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 19-20. When a group of travelers came, they found Yusuf and decided to hide him as merchandise after a water carrier found him. They then sold Yusuf for a small price, only a few dirhams, because they were not interested in him. Allah is all-knowing of all their deeds. The glorification of Prophet Yusuf in the house of Al-Aziz. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 21-22. Allah gave Yusuf a good position in Egypt and taught him the interpretation of dreams after the Egyptian who bought him hoped that Yusuf could be of benefit or be made a child. When Yusuf grew up, Allah gave him wisdom and knowledge as a reward for those who do good. Temptation and coaxing of Al-Aziz's wife towards Prophet Yusuf. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 23-25. The woman in the house where Yusuf lived tried to seduce him, but Yusuf refused by saying that he took refuge in Allah, and that her husband had treated her well. Even though the woman wanted Yusuf, Yusuf did not want to, unless he saw a sign from his Lord. Allah turned Yusuf away from evil and abomination, showing that Yusuf was one of his chosen servants. When the woman pulled her clothes until they were torn, her husband arrived at the door, and she accused Yusuf. Proof that Prophet Yusuf was innocent. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 26 to 29, Yusuf asserted that it was the woman who seduced him, not the other way around. A witness testified that if his shirt was torn in the front, the woman was telling the truth, but if it was torn in the back, the woman was lying. When the woman's husband saw his shirt torn in the back, he realized the woman's trickery. He asked Yusuf to forget the incident and asked his wife to ask forgiveness for her sin because they were both guilty. News spread about Al-Aziz's wife, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 30 to 35. The women in the city gossiped about Al-Aziz's wife who seduced his servant Yusuf, but Yusuf refused. When Al-Aziz's wife heard their reproaches, she invited the women and showed Yusuf to them. The women were so fascinated by Yusuf's handsomeness that they injured their own hands, calling him an angel. Al-Aziz's wife admitted that she had seduced Yusuf, but Yusuf refused. Yusuf begged to be protected from their trickery, and Allah answered his prayer, protecting him from their trickery. Finally, they decided to imprison Yusuf for a certain time after seeing the signs of his truth. The story of Prophet Yusuf in prison, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 36 to 38. Yusuf entered the prison with two young men who had dreams that he wanted to explain. One of them dreamed of pressing grapes, while the other dreamed of carrying bread on his head that was eaten by birds. They asked Yusuf to explain the interpretation of their dreams, considering him a person who did good. Yusuf explained that they would not be given food before explaining the interpretation of the dream, because it was part of the knowledge that God taught him. Yusuf emphasized that he followed the religion of his ancestors, Ibrahim, Ishaq, and Yaqub, and that they would not associate anything with Allah because that was Allah's gift to them, even though most people were ungrateful. Prophet Yusuf's invitation to the religion of Tawheed, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 39 to 40, Yusuf asked the two inmates of the prison which is better, worshipping various gods or worshipping Allah, the One and the Almighty. He asserted that anything worshipped other than Allah is only the names of idols created by humans, without any definite explanation from Allah. Only Allah has the definite right determination, and He has commanded that humans do not worship other than Him. That is the straight religion, but unfortunately most humans are not aware of it. Interpretation of dreams by Prophet Yusuf, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 41 to 42. Yusuf told two prison inmates that one of them would provide alcohol for his master, while the other would be crucified and birds would eat part of his head. Yusuf said that the matter they asked had been answered. Yusuf asked the one who would be saved to explain his situation to his master, but unfortunately, Satan made him forget to do so. So Yusuf remained in prison for several years. Prophet Yusuf's interpretation of the king's dream, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 43 to 49. The king dreamed of seeing 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 thin cows and 7 green stalks of wheat and 7 dry stalks. The leaders of the people were unable to interpret the dream, but the survivor among them remembered Yusuf, who was good at interpreting dreams. He asked the king to send him to Yusuf. Yusuf explained that there would be 7 consecutive years for planting, followed by 7 years of famine that would deplete the savings, and then a year with enough rain to press grapes. Prophet Yusuf's release from prison, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 50 to 52. The king ordered that Yusuf be brought to him, but Yusuf asked the messenger to return to his master and ask about the women who had injured his hand, saying that Allah is all-knowing of their tricks. The king asked the women about their attempts to seduce Yusuf, but they testified that Yusuf had not done anything bad. Al-Aziz's wife admitted that she had seduced him, and stated that Yusuf was a truthful person. Yusuf explained that this was to show al-Aziz that he had not betrayed him when al-Aziz was not at home, and that Allah did not approve of the deception of those who betrayed him. The appointment of the Prophet Yusuf as a royal official, mentioned in Surah Yusuf, verses 53 to 57. The Prophet Yusuf stated that lust always leads to evil, except for lust that is given mercy by God, who is most forgiving and most merciful. The king decided to take Yusuf as someone close to him after talking to him, giving him a high position and trust. Yusuf asked to become the manager of the Egyptian treasury, because he was good at maintaining trust and knowledgeable. Allah gave Joseph a position in Egypt, gives mercy to whom he wills, and does not waste the reward of those who do good. Yusuf was given the freedom to live wherever he wanted, while the reward in the afterlife was promised to be better for those who believed and were pious. Prophet Yusuf's meeting with his brothers. Mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 58 to 61. Prophet Yusuf recognized his brothers when they came to Egypt, although they did not recognize him. When Yusuf prepared provisions for them, he asked that his half-brother, Benjamin, be brought to him. Yusuf insisted that if they did not bring Benjamin, they would not receive any more grain from him. Yusuf's brothers agreed to persuade their father to allow them to bring Benjamin to Yusuf. Prophet Yusuf and Benjamin, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 62 to 66. Prophet Yusuf ordered his servants to hide the goods they used as a means of exchange in the sacks of his brothers, so that they would know about it when they arrived home. When Yusuf's brothers returned to their father, they begged that their brother Benjamin come with them to receive the grain. Jacob was hesitant to entrust Benjamin to them, remembering what had happened to Yusuf previously, but they vowed to bring Benjamin back to him. When Yusuf's brothers found their belongings returned, they were grateful and willing to bring Benjamin back by swearing by Allah, which was witnessed by Jacob. Prophet Jacob's command to his sons, mentioned in Surah Yusuf, verses 67 to 68. Prophet Jacob asked his sons not to enter from one gate, but from different gates, even though he realized that Allah's destiny could not be prevented in the slightest. Jacob submitted all matters to Allah and emphasized that only in Him do those who rely increase their trust. When Jacob's sons obeyed his command, it did not change Allah's decision, but only fulfilled Jacob's loving desire for them, which was based on the knowledge that Allah had given him. The meeting of Prophet Yusuf and Benjamin, mentioned in Surah Yusuf, verses 69 to 82. Prophet Yusuf put his brother Benjamin in his place and revealed his identity to them. When the king's cup was found in Benjamin's sack, they were accused of stealing. Yusuf's brothers defended themselves, but the law they applied stated that anyone found with a lost item would be made a slave. Yusuf checked their sacks and found the king's cup in Benjamin's sack. Although they asked that one of them be replaced, Yusuf refused and stated that they should seek protection from Allah from detaining someone without proof. Finally, they decided to return to their father and tell him that Benjamin had stolen, even though they did not know what had really happened. They promised not to leave Egypt without their father's permission or a decision from Allah. The patience of Prophet Jacob, mentioned in Surah Yusuf, verses 83 to 98. Prophet Jacob expressed his patience and hoped that Allah would bring all his children to him. When his sons brought news of Yusuf, Yaqub felt sad and complained to Allah. He ordered his sons to seek news of Yusuf and Benjamin without despairing of Allah's mercy. When they met Yusuf, they asked for help and charity, not realizing that Yusuf was their brother. Yusuf revealed his identity and stated that Allah gives blessings to those who are pious and patient. After Yusuf forgave them, they brought the good news to Yaqub, who finally regained his sight. Yaqub asked forgiveness for his sons and stated that Allah is oft forgiving and most merciful. The departure of the extended family of Prophet Yaqub to Egypt, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 99 to 101. Prophet Yusuf embraced his mother and father as they entered Egypt, providing a guarantee of safety. He then raised his parents to the throne, who then bowed down to him. Yusuf expressed that the interpretation of his dream had come true, grateful for the goodness of Allah who had freed him from prison and reunited his family. He asked Allah to be his protector in this world and the hereafter, hoping to die as a Muslim and to be united with the righteous. Lessons from the story of Prophet Yusuf, mentioned in Surah Yusuf, verses 102 to 103. Allah revealed to Prophet Muhammad some unseen news, such as the plan of deception agreed upon by the people who threw Yusuf into the well, even though Prophet Muhammad was not there when it happened. Although Prophet Muhammad really wanted most people to believe, most of them still would not believe. No reward for prophets and messengers for their da'wah, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 104 to 106. Allah stated that Prophet Muhammad did not ask for a reward for his call, because the Quran is a teaching for the entire universe. Although there were many signs of Allah's greatness in the heavens and the earth that they passed through, most people turned away from it. Allah emphasized that most of them did not believe in him. Even they fell into polytheism. Warning of the coming of sudden torture, mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 107 to 108. Allah asked whether they felt safe from Allah's punishment that could come suddenly, or from the coming of the apocalypse without them realizing it. Prophet Muhammad was asked to state that his way was to invite people to Allah with clear evidence along with those who followed him, while emphasizing that he was not included in the group of polytheists. Surah Yusuf focuses on the story of the Prophet Yusuf, Alaihi Salam, and his family, with a unique narrative because the entire story is presented in one chapter, different from other prophets whose stories are spread across several chapters. Allah invites people to pay attention to the end of those who lied to the messenger before them, by asserting that the land of the afterlife is better for those who are pious. When the apostles felt hopeless because they had been lied to, Allah gave his help and saved whom he willed, while Allah's punishment could not be denied to the sinners. The stories of the apostles are lessons for people of common sense, not made-up stories, but confirmation of the previous books, as guidance and mercy for those who believe. Conclusion of Surah Yusuf. Surah Yusuf focuses on the story of the Prophet Yusuf, Alaihi Salam, and his family, with a unique narrative because the entire story is presented in one chapter, different from other prophets whose stories are spread across several chapters. In this story, Allah highlights the importance of patience and shows that happiness often comes after suffering. Prophet Yaqub, Alaihi Salam, was tested by losing his son Yusuf, Alaihi Salam, and his eyesight, while Yusuf, Alaihi Salam, faced various trials, including being thrown into a well, by his brothers, sold into slavery, and seduced by Aziz's wife, Zuleika. Despite many trials, Yusuf, Alaihi Salam, remained steadfast in his faith and was eventually reunited with his father, restoring Jacob's, Alaihi Salam, sight and love in between them. This chapter also emphasizes the teachings of faith, laws related to good behavior, and wisdom from the stories of the prophets that show similarities in the teachings of monotheism.